The new food pyramid is not designed for diabetics, and if you follow it, you might actually be making your blood sugar worse. In this video, I'm going to break down what's wrong with the new food pyramid, which foods spike insulin the hardest, and what I would eat instead if I were trying to lower my blood sugar and start the process of reversing diabetes. Hi, I'm Jared. I'm a registered nurse and health coach, and I reversed my own type 2 diabetes after being told medication was my only option. And now I help other people do the same thing by fixing insulin resistance at the root. So let's jump into this and talk about what they got wrong. The new food pyramid still misses the real problem, and it's absolutely not going to work for someone trying to reverse type 2 diabetes. Now, on paper, the new 2026 food pyramid looks much different. But to be honest, they basically just turned the old one upside down. The new one prioritizes protein, healthy fats, fruits and vegetables, and it pushes grain down to the smallest section, meaning they're still included, but they're no longer the foundation. So at first glance, looking at this, it looks like real progress. But here's the thing. It took them about 50 years and a dramatic rise in diabetes to finally change it. The old model lasted generations, while obesity and type 2 diabetes exploded. So this new version may look logical. Some would say the last one did too. Most of us don't have another 50 years to wait and see how it works out. Now, the real reason it still misses the mark is that it's not built for insulin resistance. The pyramid was written for the general population, not people with chronically high insulin. And that assumption, in my opinion, is why diabetics will still struggle if they follow this pyramid as it stands. So, yeah, it looks better, but better doesn't mean diabetic friendly. So, what exactly in this pyramid can still keep your blood sugar high? Well, there's three major traps diabetics fall into when following this kind of general health advice. Number one is pretty obvious. The carbs are still too prominent. Whole grains, rice, and fruit are presented as healthy staples, but these things get broken down into glucose during digestion, and that glucose ends up in your bloodstream. For someone with insulin resistance, that's like feeding a fire with gasoline. So if your goal is healing and not just managing diabetes, you have to cut the carbs, because carbs turn into glucose. Glucose raises insulin, and insulin is what is driving this disease. Trap number two, dairy isn't always the greatest option. Now, the pyramid includes dairy, and that can be a double-edged sword. Now, for me personally, plain cheese and Greek yogurt, daily staple. But flavored yogurts, sweetened milk, and sweetened cheeses are clearly not a good choice. Some of these have 24, 30, even 40 grams of carbs in a single serving. But you look at the pyramid, and people hear dairy is healthy, and they don't think about how it's going to affect their glucose. Those sneaky sugars are going to keep insulin high, even when you think you're eating right. So dairy can be a tool or it can be a dessert. So I would just encourage you that if you're going to pick dairy, pick the right kinds. Cheese, plain Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, those are my go-tos. Number three, fruit can often add too much sugar to the system for someone who's trying to heal their body. But in this pyramid, it gets marketed as a health food. And most fruit today isn't the same fruit that our grandparents ate. It's been selectively bred to be bigger, sweeter, and much easier to overeat. And for someone trying to break a sugar addiction or heal diabetes, it's usually not the best place to start. I've found that most of my clients do better by holding off on fruit until their blood sugar stabilizes, and then some of them may choose to test it after they've given their body time to heal. Before I go into what I would do instead, let me give you something that may help. I created a free guide called 6 Steps to Reverse Diabetes Naturally. I linked it in the description below. In it, I lay out a step-by-step framework that gives you the exact blueprint I used myself and that I now use with my clients. So we've talked about what's wrong with the pyramid. Now let's talk about what actually works and what I would eat instead. So if this pyramid won't help a diabetic heal, then what would? I hear this all the time. I'm following healthy guidelines and eating what I thought was good, and my numbers still won't budge. And that's because general guidelines still assume carbs can be a large part of the diet. In the hospital, the diabetic diet often still includes up to 60 grams of carbs per meal, plus snacks, which can easily put someone close to 200 grams of carbs in a single day. And most diabetics are carbohydrate intolerant. Their body doesn't handle carbs like a normal person. Carbs turn into glucose, glucose raises insulin, and insulin is what drives the disease. So if your goal is healing insulin resistance, you have to cut the carbs low enough for insulin to come down. And for most people who are actively trying to heal their diabetes, that often means under 30 grams a day. And that's exactly how I'd structure my meals if the goal was healing and not more meds and just disease maintenance. So if I was making a food pyramid for diabetics, I would make the foundation protein and healthy fats, because that's where healing begins. They help stabilize appetite. And proteins support muscle, which in turn helps improve glucose control. Things like eggs and bacon, steak and butter, chicken thighs, wild-caught salmon. Healthy fats help satiety and reduce cravings, and they help you stick with healthy habits for the long term. Second on my food pyramid would be non-starchy vegetables. It's a staple around my house because they keep us full and they help provide good things that our bodies need. I don't tell my clients they're mandatory, but they definitely belong on a diabetic-friendly food pyramid. They add volume and micronutrients without spiking glucose for most people. Things like broccoli, spinach, cauliflower, zucchini, mostly things that grow above the ground. But remember, we're all different, and we all may respond different to different foods. At the bottom of my pyramid, where it's the smallest, would be some low-sugar fruit like berries. And, that's after healing has taken place. I might consider adding a small amount of low-sugar fruit, like a few berries. But my clients that are trying to heal, I normally only recommend this after they've firmly established their glucose goals and broken their sugar addiction. And at the bottom of my pyramid, personally, if I'm trying to heal diabetes, I would strictly avoid grains and any refined carbohydrates. And for me, that would mean no bread, no rice, no cereal, no oatmeal, no crackers. Every one of these things become glucose fast, and they keep insulin elevated, neither of which is going to help your body heal. And I want to be clear, the things I'm saying here aren't just my opinion. The American Diabetes Association recognizes that low carbohydrate and very low carbohydrate eating patterns, often around 20 to 50 grams a day, can improve glycemic control and reduce medication needs in many people with type 2 diabetes, in their own words. Low carb is recognized as a legitimate approach, and honestly, it's always been common sense, just not common practice. Studies show that lowering carbs can help people achieve a lower fasting glucose, lower hemoglobin A1C, reduced insulin resistance, and less medication over time. It's simple. When carbs go down, insulin demand goes down, and that's how you start to reverse insulin resistance. So it's pretty clear the new food pyramid is better than the old one, but better doesn't necessarily mean diabetic friendly. If you want to reverse diabetes, you need a plan that's built around insulin resistance, not general guidelines that are focused on weaning people off of the standard American diet, SAD, that's mostly junk. The good news is you don't need a complicated system. You can build a low-carb blueprint that you actually enjoy and that supports healing. So if you want more practical help, watch the next video, where I go over 10 foods that lower blood sugar quickly without medications. It's linked below. And don't forget, download my free guide, 6 Steps to Reverse Diabetes Naturally. I linked it below in the description also. And I want to thank you for watching. I'm asking you to like and subscribe so that this message can reach more people. I hope you stay curious. Don't blindly follow the crowd. Test things for yourself and take control of your own health. I'll see you in the next video.